Under the blazing Arizona sun of 1883, a lone woman found something no one should ever find in the desert: a crying infant swaddled in blood-stained cloth. She didn't know it yet, but the moment she picked that child up, she'd also taken the life of a gunman into her hands, a man being hunted by law and legend alike. The desert stretched endlessly, heat rising like ghosts from the ground. Tessa Monroe's horse staggered along the dry gulch trail, its hooves sinking into soft sand. She'd been on her way to Yuma, hoping to trade fabric and herbs for supplies before heading back to her ranch. Then she heard it faint at first, a sound that didn't belong in that endless emptiness. A baby's cry. Her heart stilled. She thought it was a trick of the wind, but it came again, sharp, desperate. Alive. Tessa slid from her saddle and followed the sound to a cluster of mesquite bushes. There, half buried under a torn blanket, lay a tiny baby boy. His skin was red from the sun, lips dry, and his cry rasped like sandpaper. "Oh, sweet mercy," Tessa whispered, lifting him gently. The cloth was stiff with dried blood. She scanned the horizon. No wagon tracks, no campfire smoke, nothing. Just a scorched sky and silence. Whoever left him here had done it to die. She pressed the baby to her chest and rode fast toward her ranch, praying she wasn't already too late by sundown. The boy was bathed, fed, and sleeping inside Tessa's cabin. She watched the firelight flicker on his small face. He couldn't have been more than a few months old. Her dog, Rusty, barked once. A shadow moved outside. Tessa's hand went to the shotgun by the door. "Who's out there?" she called. A low voice replied, calm but worn. "Name's Cole Redden. I'm looking for something that belongs to me." The door creaked open just enough to reveal him, tall, dust-covered, with a revolver hanging loose at his side. His coat was torn, his face marked by a week's worth of hard living. But his eyes were a storm. "I ain't got much for thieves," Tessa said, keeping her shotgun leveled. He didn't flinch. "I ain't here to rob you, ma'am. I'm here for my son." Tessa froze. He took a step closer, and the firelight glinted off a U.S. Marshal's bullet badge tied to a leather string around his neck, broken and worn. "Your son?" she asked, voice low. "His name's Eli. My wife's dead. We were ambushed 2 nights ago out near Red Rock. I went after the men that did it. When I came back," his voice cracked, "she was gone. So was he." Tessa felt a pang in her chest. The baby, his baby, had been left to die out there. "You got proof?" she asked. He took off his hat and pulled from his pocket a tiny crocheted sock. It matched the one on the baby's foot. Over the next few days, Cole stayed on the ranch, recovering from his wounds. Tessa watched him quietly. He was a man who carried death in his shadow, every movement deliberate, every word measured. She'd heard of Cole Redden before. Outlaws whispered his name like a curse. Once a lawman, now a fugitive accused of robbing a federal payroll and killing the marshal who tried to stop him. But she also saw how gently he held his son, how he'd whispered to the baby in the dark when he thought she couldn't hear. "I'll make it right. Eli," he murmured one night. "Your mama deserved better than this." Tessa felt something stir in her chest, something dangerous. She'd been alone too long. Her husband had died to Winter's back, leaving her with a ranch and a silence that never ended. Now this stranger and his child filled that silence like music. By the 5th day, word reached her that Sheriff Abel Murdoch and his men were riding through the valley, hunting Cole Redden. "Cole," she said quietly that evening, "you need to ride out tonight. Murdoch's on your trail." Cole looked at her with those weary gray eyes. "If I ride, they'll still find me. They'll take Eli too." She clenched her fists. "You can't stay here." He hesitated, then said, "You ever think the stories folks tell might be wrong?" She didn't answer. He stood. I was framed, Tessa. I didn't kill Marshal Doran. I was tracking the same men that did the Harlow gang. They took the gold shipment and my wife's life. And you want revenge? She said. He looked down at the sleeping baby. I want justice. Before she could reply, Rusty barked the signal she'd taught him when riders approached. Cole's hand went to his gun. Sheriff, Tessa whispered. They could already hear the horses outside. The night burned orange with lanterns and gunfire. Sheriff Murdoch called out from behind a mesquite line. Cole Redden. Lay down your weapon and hand over the child. You're wanted for murder and theft. Cole crouched near the window, baby hidden in a crate behind him. Stay back, he told Tessa. I ain't letting them take that child, she said. Loading her shotgun, he turned to her, half in disbelief. You don't even know if I'm telling the truth. No, you didn't leave your baby to die in the desert, she said. He smiled faintly the first time. She'd seen anything soft in him. Gunfire shattered the window. The ranch erupted into chaos. Tessa and Cole fought side by side, her firing from the loft, him taking shots from the porch. The sheriff's men tried to rush in, but the desert night favored the desperate. When the shooting paused, Murdoch shouted again, You can't win, Redden. Harlow already confessed. Said you were his partner. Cole's voice thundered back. Harlow's a liar. Then came a single shot. Different, colder. Cole staggered, blood blooming on his shoulder. Tessa screamed and dragged him inside, barricading the door. He pressed a hand to his wound, breathing hard. Listen, there's a letter in my saddlebag. Proof of everything. If I don't make it, don't, she said fiercely. You're gonna make it. But outside, the sheriff's men were setting torches. The cabin's walls began to glow red. The fire roared through the rafters. Smoke thickened the air. Cole stumbled to his feet, baby crying in his arms. We go through the back. He coughed Tessa, threw a wet blanket over them, and kicked the back door open. They ran into the desert night, flames chasing their shadows. Gunfire followed. One bullet struck the ground near her boot. Another hit Cole's side. He didn't fall, not yet. They made it to the ravine behind the ranch, hiding among the rocks. Cole slumped down, blood staining the sand. Murdoch, he rasped. He was part of it. He worked with Harlow. That letter. Show it to the judge in Yuma. Tessa shook her head, tears burning her eyes. Don't you dare leave that boy without his father again. He smiled faintly. You're something else, Miss Monroe. Before she could reply, hooves thundered nearby. Sheriff Murdoch rode up with 2 deputies. Cole gritted his teeth and stood, gun trembling in his hand. You took my wife, he growled. You won't take my son. Murdoch raised his pistol. You should have stayed dead, Redden. The shot rang out, but not from Murdoch's gun. Tessa fired first. The sheriff fell from his horse, his badge glinting as it hit the sand. When the sun rose, the ranch was gone, just smoking wood and silence. Tessa held Eli close as Cole leaned weakly against a rock. His face was pale, but he was breathing. Guess I owe you my life, he murmured. She smiled through tears. Guess we're even. Weeks later, in Yuma, the letter cleared his name. Murdoch's corruption came to light. And the Harlow gang were hunted down for real this time. Cole buried his wife on a green hill near the river. Then he came back to Tessa's ranch, rebuilt from the ashes. Smaller, but alive. She stood on the porch as he rode up, baby Eli in her arms. You plannin' on stayin'? She asked softly. He looked at her, eyes gentler than she'd ever seen. If you'll have me, Tessa smiled, sunlight warming her face. Guess the dessert finally gave me something worth keepin'. And for the first time in years, she felt peace in the arms of a man once called an outlaw. With a babyhood turned strangers into family, as the wind carried the scent of rain across the desert. Tessa looked to the horizon, where once she'd found a dying child and now found her reason to live.